Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. On June 16th at the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District Citizens Advisory Committee meeting, Executive Director Tom McGlasson informed the committee that the South Walnut facility will start accepting waste tires and will be able to accept credit or debit cards for payment moving forward.
Beginning July 1st, we will be able to accept waste tires from residential sources at our South Walnut facility in the Household Hazardous Waste Department. At this time, until we figure out how things go, we are limiting customers to 5 tires per visit. We don't want to overwhelm the staff while they're fine tuning the process of how we're going to make this work. And also, as of today, we can take debit and credit cards for payment at the Household Hazardous Waste Department.
McGlasson said that the fee for tire disposal will be posted on their website on July 1st. Committee member Lily Kleinlein gave an update on the rebranding subcommittee's progress.
We mostly formulated some themes to design slogans around, primarily our world, our responsibility, your actions, world and global impacts of connecting, trying to connect individuals to overall responsibility and impact. And it seems to be really an ongoing kind of brainstorming document until our next meeting.
Chairperson Joseph Winia said that any ideas for a slogan that members have will be relayed to a media consultant.
If anybody has any thoughts they want to contribute, there are spaces within it. So if you have any thoughts on slogans or anything, you're welcome to add those at any time. And those will be relayed to a media consultant who will be managing the rebranding process once they have been selected.
At the Monroe County Public Library Board of Trustees meeting on June 15th, Director Greer Carson gave the monthly director's report.
So a few highlights to share with everyone. Our Library of Things collection continues to grow in popularity. It saw significant use in May. The iPads in particular are heavily used, and we've even heard some requests from the public specifically for additional iPads, so we are going to be pursuing that. Our outreach van service is back and using our brand new van, which is great to see. Adult Services started a new program for adults 60 and over called the Golden Agers Club, which focuses on physical movement, brain-boosting games, and crafts. And we're highlighting this because we often focus so many of our discussions in terms of programming on children and teens and trying to engage with new audiences and age groups. And it's important to remember that we create programming and opportunities for all age groups. Our youth starter card visits to first grade classrooms occurred in May. 54 of those students then returned to the library with parents or guardians to upgrade their cards, which is one of the main reasons why we do that program. During the first 8 days of summer reading, which began on May 23rd, we distributed 1,281 summer reading program game boards. That's nearly 1,300 registered summer reading program patrons in just 1 week. And then there was a question at the last board meeting about how we handle training for things like active shooter, given everything that's going on in our country right now. And since then, we've been working to more or less overhaul our active shooter training plan, and we've adopted an annual training schedule by department and branch. So we will be doing real-time location-specific active shooter training with all staff on an annual basis, and that began this week.
Carson also updated the board about the Southwest Branch construction.
Kind of more of the same. The concrete wall framework, installation, and waterproofing work is nearly complete, but they're still working on that. We have confirmed plans to include a new type of glass partition on the south-facing wall, and there will be a change order coming for that. It won't be significant, but it's well worth it. We have also confirmed plans to include a sliding metal gate to better secure the IT and electrical rooms. Then there'll be a related change order coming for that as well. We are in the process of resolving 2 temporary easements, one from Duke Electric and the other from the Highway Department, which we discussed last month. And the next construction meeting is tomorrow. We have these meetings on site so we can view progress ask questions about the structure, learn a little bit in the process. I, for one, learn a lot every time we have these construction meetings. So progress continues. We're very much on track for what we hope will be a May 2023 grand opening.
Board President Christine Harrison introduced a resolution to extend the library's COVID leave policy for another 6 months.
And the next item is, we've approved this a couple of times now since COVID came upon us. And so we are proposing to extend the COVID leave policy.
Carson commented that the staff has used the leave policy responsibly.
So just a little bit of background. We've had this in place since January of 2021, so this would be the 4th time we've asked to renew this. We do it in 6-month intervals simply so we can maintain some flexibility because the landscape of the pandemic can and does change. But this policy has provided all MCPL employees with 10 full days of sick leave specific to COVID-related leave needs, and that includes being advised by a medical professional to self-quarantine due to COVID-related concerns, experiencing symptoms regarding COVID and seeking a diagnosis, or a bona fide need to care for an individual subject to quarantine regarding COVID. Our staff have actually made very responsible use of this. Just sort of some quick numbers. In 2021, we had 23 employees use the policy for a total of 433 hours of leave, with an average of just under 19 hours used per individuals. And in 2022, we have so far had 24 employees use this policy for a total of 708 hours of leave, with an average of just under 30 hours per individual. Now, these are unique individuals, so 23 and 24 unique employees respectively, which is a pretty good indication that it's being used. But really, more than anything, I think not having to take your own sick leave for COVID-related issues, which could be repeating, and in some cases that does happen. It's also kind of a safety net. It's a way for the library to say, we're going to take care of you in these unique times. And you're not going to have to worry about managing sick leave and personal leave on top of a COVID-related situation.
The board unanimously voted to extend the COVID leave policy through December 31st. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
For hurting families in Monroe County.
A contribution to children who are vulnerable and in need of an advocate.
A staff that goes above and beyond to support and advocate for children in need of services.
The web of remarkable people who are dealing with difficult situations.
So many young people that are in need of help and trying to find a stable family, a stable place to live. Without the CASAs to make that happen, many of them would be unable to find a good home.
I love being that voice for the child who can't speak for themselves in court.
It takes me out of my comfort zone, and it also helps others.
CASA means supporting our community.
Being a CASA is making sure that your village is healthy and whole, and that the children in your village will someday be able to help the village as well.
A child who doesn't have a voice, maybe in their family situation or a school situation, now has a voice that can advocate for them.
I really enjoy working with children that are going through difficult times and letting them know that I care about their future.
We are privileged with our charge of representing the best interest of children. And so therefore we can advocate for exactly what they need without restriction, focusing on their best interest.
I want to repair the world one child at a time.
Welcome back to CATSweek. The Bloomington City Council discussed a proposed infrastructure agreement with Meridium at the June 15th meeting. Councilmember Kate Rosenbarger asked why Meridium, a Paris-based company, was a better option than the city's current internet provider. Director of IT Rick Dietz responded.
I think in part because part of Meridium's animating ethos is social, and equity is a big pillar of their operations as a benefit corporation. So from the very beginning of the conversation, this was one of the most important parts, making sure that there was a robust digital equity plan. One of the most compelling facets of this, which you don't see from many providers that's present in this, is their commitment to have an actual person, staff member, be responsible for the success of the digital equity program in the community. Instead of just printing out pamphlets, and throwing them around, they will have boots on the ground to get households signed up to be able to utilize this program. They need to do that because they need to meet our objectives, our performance objectives in digital equity.
Councilmember Matt Flaherty asked whether the network and TIF district would extend into the county and also how annexation would play into that conversation. County Attorney Beth Kate responded, saying that if the annexation does not go through, Monroe County would have to vote and approve of the Meridian expansion as well. Attorney Bradley Bingham responded in regards to the TIF district question.
Yes, thank you. I think the question was raised about, could the city extend the TIF area into the county, absent annexation? The answer is yes. There is a provision in the redevelopment statute that allows for the county to transfer jurisdiction over certain discrete areas next to the city limits for this very purpose. So I just wanted to add that in there. That is a possibility if that were to be necessary.
During public comment, Chamber of Commerce member Christopher M.G. spoke in favor of a high-speed fiber optic network. However, he cautioned that a contingency plan should be made in case Meridian ever goes bankrupt or is purchased by another company.
Hello and good evening, Council. This is Christopher M.G. from the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce. A lot of your inquiries were similar to ours tonight, and there's a lot to like about this Meridian City Public-Private Partnership to create a fiber-to network. A robust digital equity initiative is an important goal. The pandemic proved how vital high-speed digital access remains to our careers and our children's education for those remote learning days. The Chamber embraces Meridian's interest in our community with the $50 million investment. We do advocate for competition in the marketplace and appreciate innovative nature that is the Spider TIF. Where our skepticism rests is the benefits to the entire community, not just the hard-to-reach populations who currently lacks this connection. Does generating this competition result in overbuilding when we look at the current providers we already have? We don't know. This is an enormous infrastructure project. The construction will be a disruption to our daily lives, especially for small business owners. At the same time, Meridian has made it clear its target remains residential customers and not the business for the time being. Meridian's going to have to fight for the talent and these construction workers as they move forward. Next is, could this deal go south, and what if it does? It took over 6 years to get to this point, with many potential partners falling by the wayside. While Meridian has made an impressive case that they are here in the long run and never sold any of their assets, we know that the current landscape, things can change on a dime. What we know is that they have the possibility of going bankrupt or a merger to take place. Then what? This is a new project and a new territory as far as U.S. municipalities are concerned for Meridian. So there's a lot of unknown. What happens then if there is a merger or a bankruptcy? Do we have a contingency plan in place? Finally, what this Chamber supports is just a pause in these proceedings to ensure that these questions are answered and the input from the public is properly solicited before we make this long-term commitment. I thank you for your time and the great discussion this evening.
The Council voted 8-1 to approve the contract with Meridian. The Council also voted in favor of establishing the People's Bank building on Kirkwood as a historic district and will vote on whether or not to vacate the alley behind the Johnson Creamery building at their next meeting on July 20th. At the Bloomington Commission on Sustainability meeting on June 14th, Assistant Director of Sustainability Lauren Clemens said that the city will be working with a climate fellow who will come and talk to the Commission about Level 2 charging stations in the city.
This summer, our department's hosting a climate fellow. So this was a program through the Environmental Resilience Institute where graduate and undergrad students get placed with local governments, businesses, and nonprofits across the state to work on various climate and sustainability projects. Depending on the project, students are working on anything from like climate action plans to other identified needs. So for this summer in our department, our climate fellows working on a couple of different electric vehicle related projects, and including this week she's been mapping the charging stations, and we've actually gone and done site visits to see for anyone that is using them, whether things like, do you need an app, so to increase the usability and create that resource. And she's doing some other work about the available tax credit and education about that, and then ultimately is going to create other resources and more EV plans about where we should focus on getting level 2 charging stations across Bloomington.
Clemens said that depending on the fellows' availability, the commission can expect a presentation sometime in July or August. And we'll have more Cats Week after this message.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying.
I'm at risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of regretting what I do, just to join the crowd.
I'm at risk of being told not to tell. And you would never know it by looking at me.
But with Girls Inc. in my corner,
There for me, every day, believing in me.
Showing me what's possible.
I can be strong enough to respect myself and my body.
to say I can rather than I can't,
To say no with no apology.
To be a leader.
to finish school,
To own my future.
To break the cycle.
Girls Inc. believes every girl can succeed. That's why the trained professionals of Girls Inc. are there for our girls every day, supporting, mentoring, and guiding them in a safe, girls-only environment. Building bonds that last for years and change that lasts a lifetime. Girls Inc. gives girls the tools they need to boldly face challenges, to resist peer pressure, to be the first in their families to go to college, to beat the odds. With Girls Inc. in her corner, every girl can be healthy, confident, and resilient. She'll do more than dream about her potential. She'll reach it.
With you in my corner. With you in my corner,
I will not be another statistic.
I will fight for myself.
For my future.
With you in my corner, I will win.
Fuel her fire and she will change the world. Girls Inc. Inspiring all girls to be strong, smart, and bold.
Welcome back to Cats Week. At the June 14th Monroe County Council meeting, Financial Director Breon Gregory asked the council for another full-time position to help in the auditing department.
What we're hoping to do is just have another person in office every day to assist with our daily tasks. And, this is best done not by a part-time person, but somebody that can be in the office every day and actually learn our processes and procedures and be a real part of our team. So, we're hoping, just to somebody to assist with reporting requirements, pulling reports, pulling that information, some reconciliations, scanning and filing, of course, audit and gap report assistance. That's huge. That's taken up like a huge amount of our time, and so on and so forth. As Kathy said, basically just assisting with all of the duties over on our side as needed. So it would be a huge help to our team and really help with our division of duties and internal controls.
Next, Highway Director Lisa Ridge asked the council to approve additional funds for gasoline due to increasing costs. Councilmember Marty Hawk commented that although spending more money on gas is necessary, it also means that there is less money to fill potholes. Council President Kate Wiltz asked if there are any vehicles that use fuel alternatives in the Highway Department's fleet. Ridge said that most of the vehicles they have use diesel.
That is correct. So we use a lot of diesel fuel, depending on what we're using. And of course, that's a higher cost than regular gasoline. Most of the vehicles that use the regular gasoline are probably the other departments, maybe Sheriff's Department, Health Department, but we get reimbursed from those departments. They are allowed to get the gasoline from our pumps and then use our pricing, and then we bill them each month. But our other vehicles are the larger vehicles that and equipment that don't have an alternative.
Mm-hmm. And we do have some fleet that use electric charging, around the county, not necessarily in your department, but some of those that are using your pumps they're hybrid vehicles.
Correct. We had bought a hybrid. It's been a few years ago in our fleet. That was the only one that we ever had. As far as the other departments having the electric vehicles, I'm really not involved in that decision making for the other departments. I know our fleet director is. Electric vehicles are great, but it does affect the revenue that comes into the highway departments.
It's true.
So as I know, it's being geared more towards electric vehicles in the future. So it's one thing that the counties and AIC have discussed, that the more electric vehicles that are used will affect revenue for county highways.
Unless they change the system.
Unless there's a change in the system and the formulas of what an electric vehicle would be charged to make up for the difference of using the roadways without paying the gas tax.
The council approved the appropriation of funds unanimously. On June 13th, at the Ellisville Town Council meeting, Town Manager Mike Farmer asked the council to approve new water emergency contingency plans.
Yes, so sometimes when there's problems with the utilities, specifically the water utility, IDEM has always not recommended. They ask us to put together a contingency plan for if there's a problem, tornado, earthquakes, floods, you name it, they want you to be ready for it. So it should be comforting to know we actually do have a plan and know exactly what we're supposed to do. This lays it out in case the person that thinks he knows everything isn't here. And so this gives you a roadmap again to tell what you should do, who you should contact, chains of command, they go through assumed disasters and then what you do about it, and has everybody's phone number and spills and all kinds of things. So IDEM's contingency plan was pretty thorough, but the EPA decided we should have 2 emergency plans almost exactly alike. So this one is an EPA emergency contingency plan, and it needs to be signed by the board president. So I think, do you have the copy, Denise? Okay, so at some point it needs to be signed, and then we keep it in the utility office where everybody knows they can get to it. It's not a bad idea, it's just they made us do it twice.
The board approved the contingency plan unanimously. Later, the fire department requested approval for 3 new vehicles. Fire Chief Kevin Patton explained that they originally intended to purchase new vehicles 3 years ago, but they were unable to.
Like I said earlier, we were trying to get 3 vehicles, going on 3 years now with COVID and the supply chain. That's been rather challenging. So we did cancel that order because they were telling us it probably would be sometime late next year before we were able to get those 3. So we did locate 3 different vehicles that will still serve the same purpose. They are state QPA pricing. The originals were going to be through a lease purchase, so it was going to be a little longer plan. This, I don't have the funds to pay for all 3 of them right out front without completely depleting our emergency reserve, so I really don't want to do that. So what I'm hoping to do is get these 3 and spread it out over a 3-year loan. And if I don't have any big issues by the end of the year, I'll be able to pay for one of them completely this year. So I'm looking at purchasing the 3 over a 3-year period if possible.
Board member Scott Oldham suggested using leftover funds from the fire department's budget last year.
Mike, do you know how much the fire department turned back last year at the end of the year? Roundabout?
Not exactly, no.
Do you know?
I think 150, yeah.
So I can think from just some discussion up here, Mr. Farmer, if you don't mind, when the fire department ceases operations in the year, we'd like to probably approach this again to reappropriate that money back to pay for these vehicles so we're done. Does that work for you?
That works great for me.
So with whatever their turn back is, we'd like to see something probably at the end of the year or the first of next year to immediately reinvest that money back into these vehicles so we're not having the loan out there for more than 6-8 months at most.
Councilmember William Ellis said that he realized it might be better to refrain from using money from the rainy day fund to purchase vehicles because of rising gas prices.
And just for clarity, I had brought up about pulling from either rainy day fund or general fund or something, but then it was brought up to me by Scott and others, good point, that, when we made these funds and these budgets, gas was $2.20 something a gallon. And chances are by the end of this year, I would not be shocked if it's $6.50, $7 a gallon. So that's why we have a rainy day emergency fund. And slight drizzle right now, looks like it's going to start pouring soon.
The council approved the fire department's request to purchase 3 vehicles. And that is all for Cats Week. Thank you for joining us. For Cats and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.